Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Adventures in Glass with Doug. That's me. I've got a really cool project today. Of course, all my projects are pretty cool and pretty neat. This one, though, I think you're really going to like. I've got some interesting colors, like an aqua color, in some mosaic glass and a couple of a nice crystal bowl, a nice bottle. And I think you're going to really like what I come up with today. But first, I want to work on the topper for it. And that's going to be this glass marble. And I'm going to try and pull in a close-up to show you because I'm going to use alcohol inks to color it. Now, I've used those before, and I've had some of the instruction on videos in the past. But I'll show you this again today. We'll see what we can come up with. If you're new to the channel and this is your first visit, thanks for stopping by. I've got a lot of videos. You need to kind of go back through some of them if this interests you. What we do here is we take thrifted glass that we find in some of the Goodwill stores and other thrift shops that might be a little chipped or dinged and otherwise unloved, if you will. And we craft it into some really neat sculptures that you can use out in your yard, in your garden, on the patio or the deck, sometimes inside, just to give a little extra color to a corner. So if you're new, be sure to subscribe, then you can find out about all the new videos. And if you're returning because you just love to watch these videos, I appreciate that. Thanks. All right, let me see if I can get a close-up of what we're doing here, and then we'll start assembling our project for today, okay? Okay, with alcohol inks, what we do is we take, and in this case, this is what we're going to do is this marble. We take our alcohol, it's usually the higher percentage of isopropyl alcohol is a little bit better. It does tend to dry fairly fast when you're working with this, but sometimes you want your inks to dry so you can add different colors and layers. I use a little stand, very fancy. What I did was I cut down one of the caps for the silicone that I have, and for doing the marbles anyway, that kind of holds them up for me so I can color them. Get a little dish, and usually what I'll do is coat what I'm going to be working on with the alcohol first. And you can see I've used this color before. I think that's kind of where we're at, what we want to have. This is the bottle that's going to be part of our sculpture, and we want to be kind of close to that color. It's not that I wanted the color right now, but I wanted to do a color wash. It's kind of hard to do on these small marbles, but if you do a wash of the alcohol, then take your ink, which usually they've got to be mixed pretty good. And these should almost have like a dropper effect. It really kind of depends where you want and how much you want of color. But if you run that around, now what'll happen is, of course, it all wants to run down. So sometimes it's hard to get the color to stay on the top. And if you're going to add a second color, which I'm going to try in this case to do, I have a silver that definitely needs to be shook up because the little metallic flakes tend to settle to the bottom. Okay, let's see what we can come up with here. And this is not going to be, I'm not drawing anything specific on this. I'm just trying to get swirls of color. Now the metallic ones tend to be more opaque. I know this is really going to be hard for you to see. Try and dab a little more. And you got to watch it because sometimes you take off what you put on. Just wicks it away sometimes. Okay, I'll fiddle with this a little bit more and see what we can come up with. This needs to dry. I'm going to put a coat of clear fixative on top of that. Basically a clear art enamel just to keep the color. And if I want to then put another layer of color on top of that, I can. All right, we're going to let that dry and we'll go back to our construction over here. Give me a moment. Okay, let's get started with our construction here. I have to tell you that I was, just 2 weeks ago, I was in my thrift shop and I found a piece that I really liked. It essentially, well, I found this lower jar and then this upper piece, which was really pretty colorful with like aqua and mirrored. Wouldn't you know, then this morning I was in the thrift shop and I found what clearly must have been in the same decor family. Same look, same color, same chips. It's like, oh my gosh. It rarely happens that you'll find pieces that are that close together. All right, we're going to take this vase and set it on this bowl. And I'm not going to use a plate in between. Now, you know, judging from some of the other pieces I've done, that my tendency would be to put another plate in here to separate the pieces. But when I put this on top of the bowl, the cut glass bowl, it just looked right to me. The lines just seemed to be perfect. So I'm not going to put a plate in between to break that up. This is a very heavy glass bowl, so it's going to work really well for this piece. It'll anchor it and hold it down nicely. I did look carefully if you're buying it. And again, one of the reasons these pieces are often at the thrift shops is they are chipped or cut and scratched in some way. So this has a couple of chips out of the bottom of that, which after we're done, I may have to just put a little bit of silicone, like a bumper, on there to protect you from getting cut on that. But that'll be a nice heavy base for this piece. And then the other part of this is I cleaned this off really nice, but I realized that it appears as though there was some rust or something inside it and inside the jar, and I cannot get that out with anything that I have. I might have been able to put some sand in it and swirl it around, but as it turns out, by the time I put it together, that won't even be noticed. You're not going to be able to see that, so we don't have to clean that out right now. All right, let's see if we've got enough of our glue. The glue I use, if you watch this enough, is 100% silicone. So we're going to take that silicone and put it on the top of this piece so we can anchor that to it. And I think I've mentioned you may choose to use epoxy. That works very well. I just find this easier to work with if I have to change things up in the future. I think you'll agree that we have this on there centered up just nice. That's one of the reasons I like to use a turntable. For some reason this reminds me of sort of a dress form in some ways, kind of like broad shouldered at the top and a little bit of a skirt at the bottom. Okay, so we've got that much done. How are we going to go on the top? Well, I'm just going to take a small plate this time, because we've got a large hole here and we want to put the bottle on top, but we can't do that until we've got a surface here. And this is going to be tricky because I want to make sure I get it both level and centered up. And It's a little wobbly, but I think we'll be okay. All right, I'm gonna put my silicone there. Let's. Okay, what I've done is put a nice bead of silicone on the upper edge there. We're going to take the plate, flip it over, and center it up. Okay, I'm not going to put this on there just yet. I want to let this all dry and set up. Plus, I think I want to get my topper marble on here before I join those two. So we'll let this dry and come back at this when we have the marble finished and the topper ready to go. We're back. I've successfully painted my marble. What was a clear marble is now silver and aqua colored. We're going to put that right up here, just like that. It's not a big piece on the top, but it's enough to close off the mouth of the bottle and just give it a little interest at the top. All right, got that. And our last step is to put the bottle on the top. I took it off the turntable so that I could lower it a little bit, but we'll manually turn it. Kind of looks vertical to me. I think I'll just add another little bit of silicone around there just to make sure it's sealed, and we're finished. So that was a pretty quick project. Showed you a little bit of what we do with alcohol inks, and I think we've got a really cool piece here. I'll try and take a picture of it once it's dry. Hey, thanks for joining me, and come back soon.